It is the morning sports desk on a Friday, the 22nd of March. I'm CJ Baumgartner, Corey Tackman co-hosting this ship today. Corey, let's start things off giving an update on the state boys basketball tournament down in the Twin Cities. Class A bracket got underway yesterday. What the heck happened?
Why did you say Friday in a Southern accent?
I do it every once in a while because it's an inside reference to a Vine that I saw a long time ago that I probably cannot quote on this program.
All right, you can show me later.
It's an inside reference to myself. I think I've shown you before, but I'll show it to you.
You may have. I may have asked that question before now that I think about it.
I'm happy to show it to you again. Don't worry, just not on the air.
Before I get into this, all week long, we've been trying to get people to sign up for that basketball mayhem. And I was trying to give the whole spiel, and I ended every single one with "so do," which is a reference to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia when Charlie makes read the political speech, and Charlie's of course illiterate and can't. I understand totally where you're coming from, because it was just for me. Nobody has any idea that 2-sentence reference from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but I get where you're coming from.
All right.
State boys basketball yesterday in the 3A tournament. Mm-hmm. Alexandria was playing in the semifinal, a championship semifinal. They lose to Mankato East, a close one, 65-62. At the moment of recording, it's 11:04. Alexandria will play in the third place game tomorrow at noon versus De La Salle. Okay. In the 2A tournament, a couple area teams were playing in the consolation semifinals. Mm-hmm. Pequot Lakes beat Waseca 51-48, and Pelican Rapids lost to Jackson County Central 74-65. So Pequot Lakes and Jackson County Central are playing in that fifth place game at noon today. All right. Class A quarterfinals yesterday. Nevis beat Mountain Lake area Comfrey 78-54, and West Central area beat Heritage Christian Academy 64-53. The Class A semifinals are today at Williams Arena. It is Cherry versus Nevis at noon, and West Central area versus Fertile Beltrami at 2. So those are the area teams still alive and getting after it. Of course, championship Saturday, tomorrow. And good luck to those area teams. State boys basketball. We are essentially done with the winter sports season. On Monday, when we come back, we will not have winter sports to talk about.
Yeah, it's crazy. And by the way, good representation in Class A for the northern Minnesota schools. When you look at West Central area, Nevis, Cherry, and Fertile Beltrami, all north. So.
Is Heritage, I believe Heritage Christian Academy is maybe like Wilmer or something.
Sure.
I could look that up. If I wanted to, I suppose.
Or we could just go strictly off vibes and say, hey, the North rises again.
It feels weird though, because you would think like an academy, you would feel like is a metro school.
Right.
And it might be.
And Wilmer is just kind of on that line of north-south. Now they're technically central, but like if you are splitting, if you're making it a binary decision, I always consider like southern Minnesota, like that line from like, I consider it a north school is maybe like Sauk Center, and up like a 94 kind of splits like in that spot. Does that make sense? So like by that metric, Wilmer would be south. If you go by the
it depends on who you're talking to though.
Right.
Because where I grew up, St. Cloud would have been considered a north. You know what I mean?
That's true. It's all relative.
And it's all irrelevant because it's in Maple Grove.
Well, you were kind of close because Wilmer is a W and Maple Grove is an M. So, if you look at it that way.
It was this close.
You had it set to M for mini. You should have had it set to W for Wumbo. That's the reference today. So
happens to the best of us.
All right. Yeah. Congratulations to those teams. Best of luck throughout championship Saturday and all of that.
Go public schools.
Let's go public schools. All right. So that's the recap here. Corey, one last thing on our local sports scene to talk about today.
Yep.
I can't remember if we mentioned this on the program yesterday, but there is an article up on WadenaRadio.com and the Superstation K106 app talking about Menahga head girls basketball coach Cody Pooley being named the Section 8 AA and Park Region Conference Coach of the Year. That's, either one of those accomplishments is a pretty big deal, but to get both of them in the same year just goes to show you how good of a season Menahga had for girls basketball. Obviously didn't end the way they would have liked to, but still, that program is in a really, really good spot.
A really nice honor for Cody, especially considering they weren't even a top 3 seed in the section and got knocked out early. I think a really, really high recognition of who Cody is as a coach and recognizing those efforts this year. And Cody is a great coach, and I love chatting with him when I get a chance to do Menahga girls basketball games. He's super insightful too about his team and pretty forthcoming about what they've got going on. Congratulations to him.
Right, exactly. And by the way, 14-0 in the Park Region Conference this season. So walking away definitely will earn you that one. Another Park Region Conference title and Section 8 AA. So congratulations to Coach Pooley there. More information on our website, WadenaRadio.com, or the Superstation K106 app. Okay, so here we go, Corey. Let's give a bracket update and a standings update for the Basketball Mayhem 2024 Bracket Challenge.
Brought to us and presented by the Liquor Depot in Staples. Now, it's 9 minutes after 11, which I believe the first game tips off in 6 minutes.
Yep, 6 minutes.
So these standings are good for 6 more minutes. In the VIP group, which is us at the radio station, Zeke leads the way with 13 first day points, and he is alone in first place, CJ, by 2 full points over the Liquor Depot and me. We have 11. Kyle from KWAD has 10. CJ from the Superstation K106 and Morning Sports Desk is tied for last place with 9 points, along with sales rep Mike Melanich. Mike works with the Liquor Depot, so we included him in on the VIP group. CJ, I'll let you explain yourself here in just a minute, but I want to give the regular leaderboard. Zeke,
those competing for the top prize.
That's exactly right. Now, Zeke is a part of the leaderboard with 13 correct after day 1. As a matter of fact, the leaderboard consists of nothing but 13 points. Okay.
It's amazing.
Zeke, along with Luke Dilley, Tim Lay, Aaron Schiller, Ricky Price, Crystal Ferris, Matt Rowland, Patrick Dunn, John Hillica, and Dennis Hensel lead the way in the Basketball Mayhem, once again presented by the Liquor Depot in Staples. Congratulations to them. What the heck are you doing?
Well, just came out there and just really wanted to win those games. But, sometimes the ball just doesn't quite bounce your way. Thought our guys give a lot of good effort. And sometimes just happens, credit to the other teams. They did a great job doing what they needed to do, but I think at the end of the day, we just didn't make enough plays to win, and we just got to try better for next year.
Is that good? That was perfect. And fortunately for you, getting super braggy about leading after day 1 is pretty bold.
Right. I think even Zeke is already hedging against himself.
So, You had a big upset that didn't work out. It looked good for like 7 minutes.
It did.
With was it Arizona losing to Long Beach?
Right. I also had St. Peter's beating Tennessee. I forgot to mention that yesterday.
Whoopsie-daisy. Now, how did Kentucky impact you?
Kentucky impacted me. So that's the big upset of the day everybody's talking about is Kentucky losing to Oakland. I had Kentucky getting to the Sweet 16, and that was it. So they're going to impact. I'm going to get a couple more wrong, but ultimately I didn't have them in my Final Four, which, if you have a team in the first round that gets upset and they're going to like even the Elite 8, Final Four, God forbid the national championship game, that's where you're going to start to fall apart. I think outside of Kentucky, I've avoided some of those big upsets on day 1, which is even after a rough first day, it has me hopeful that I can rebound on days 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, I had the same. I had Kentucky losing to Marquette. So
yes, I did too.
So whatever. This is why we talked about it yesterday. This is why picking upsets might be the differentiator early, but we're not going to be out much of anything moving forward, which is why I don't pick upsets ever. I'm trying to win. Dang it.
Right. You don't get bonus points for picking the upset, and then the rest of your bracket looks like a piece of junk. One upset I do feel confident about. I predicted Oregon beating South Carolina, so I feel pretty good about that one. In the upsets, I'm trying to see. There are some parts of the bracket were just not my day yesterday. I had Nevada beating Dayton, and I felt so good about it until Nevada sold in the last 5 minutes of the game. It was like a 20-2 run that Dayton had in the final 5 minutes or something. What an ultimate choke job by Nevada. So thanks, guys.
Did you have Duquesne over BYU?
I picked it initially, and then I changed my mind because I'm like, Duquesne felt like that trendy pick, and I tried to avoid the trendy pick, and this is why I'm in last place. So Duquesne, I did have losing in that first round.
I have two things that I think are important to note. One is a buddy texted the college group thread last night, and he goes, Kentucky always blows it. I thought they were due. And I respect that point a lot because that is how I feel about Purdue. I'm very nervous about Purdue today.
Right.
The second point is I was watching yesterday, and good God, are there some 32-year-old college basketball players? There's a kid for BYU whose name I can't remember. He might be legitimately 28 years old. That's but with it when it's BYU. He looked like me. He looked like me. I couldn't believe it. And then there was I couldn't remember. I had the multi-view on. God bless YouTube TV.
I love YouTube TV. And the 4-game multi-view, you can watch all games at once.
It's amazing. And then you can just like highlight the one there's 5 minutes left in this game. Let's go to that one. It's close. Anyway, there was another like little guard guy who just like, he's 29 years old. What's he doing out there? The guy who lit up Kentucky for 30 points the other night, whatever his name is.
Right.
I mean, his receding hairline makes it back to my headphones. It's just, these guys are 1,000 years old. It's so funny.
It's also funny seeing everybody on social media start to dunk on teams. So like if you look at Oakland, who beat not Oakland like California, I think it's like Oakland, Michigan. Fun fact about that, Oakland puts in about $3.2 million into their basketball program every year. Kentucky puts in over $30 million. So Kentucky spends 10 times more money on their men's basketball program than Oakland, and they lost to them. But the classic one here is it's a badly photoshopped picture of Jack Golke, the guy from Oakland, who you're talking about, the receding hairline, badly photoshopped in front of a Honda dealership that says, Jack Golke here. You may remember my send Kentucky home, but here at Golke Honda of Oakland, we want to send you home in a brand new 2030 Accord. Like it's a great joke. It's great because they have that for the rest of his life. Like it's funny because they're all going to be accountants or teachers or insurance salesmen or gym runners, like whatever. They're going to go on and have normal lives. And where college basketball is at right now, where Jay Wright, former head coach of Villanova, said it yesterday of like, they're more talented players at Kentucky. They're better coached at Kentucky, like everything about that. But the experience of all those guys at Oakland sticking around and playing, and NIL helps out a lot with this. John Calipari got famous for taking very talented players in high school, telling them you can be one and done. That is just fine. And building some really, really good teams off of that and really good players who go on to the NBA. But they got out experienced yesterday by Oakland. And it's a very fascinating point of where college basketball is and all that. So anyway, that's a long way of saying, boy, is it embarrassing that Kentucky lost again. They have not went on a serious tournament run in a very long time.
My only counterpoint to that is, are they better coached at Kentucky?
I mean, you could make a good point.
I don't know that they are.
Right.
I don't know that they're better coached at Kentucky. No offense, Coach Cal, but that is not what you're most famous for.
There's a lot of people giving the Tubby Smith references right now to Coach Calipari in the final times that Tubby Smith was at Kentucky. Maybe they get rid of Coach Cal and they convince Pitino to come back and coach.
Oh God.
Let's see how that would go.
Keep that guy away from anything important.
It'd be so fun to have, just in terms of pure chaos. Anyway, all right, here we go. It's day 2. Let's see how that goes. You can always check the brackets, and if you just want to make fun of me and Corey's bracket, you can go look at it. WadenaRadio.com, the Superstation K106 mobile app to look at Basketball Mayhem 2024 Bracket Challenge, brought to you by the Liquor Depot in Staples. Any other NCAA tournament thoughts you want to get out there before we move on?
Northwestern and FAU just tipped off. Right. I have a minor Northwestern upset. I let you and Zeke talk me into Bol or whoever plays for Northwestern.
What is his name? He's
whatever his name is. That
darn
guy.
It.
Boogie Boogie, Oogie Boogie, Shamalama. Whatever his name is, that guy. We had a 30-second conversation, you, me, and Zeke, and I was like, I'll pick Northwestern. That sounds fun.
It is Boo Booey.
Boo Booey.
And then his dad, Bapa Booey.
Boo.
Boo is his first name. Bowie is his last name, spelled Buie. There you go.
Boo Booey. Our 30-second conversation about Boo Booey 2.5 weeks ago was the reason I picked Northwestern in this game. I just want to be very clear about that.
I think, pick Northwestern just because I trust the Big Ten school in this one, which I should not have done, but I've also seen Northwestern play. I'm looking at my bracket. That was a different bracket I had. I picked FAU to win, so forget everything I just said.
How are you doing in other brackets? I've got one.
Well.
Really? I've got one with college friends. I am 5th in that one. I'm in the 71st percentile on my ESPN bracket.
All right, bragging on day 1. Let's see how that goes.
That's not good. I'm just telling you where I'm at. There's hope for me, but that's not like.
See, if things go badly for my bracket, I am just going to focus solely on college hockey and my Bemidji State Beavers. That's pretty much going to be the tale of my weekend.
Let's talk about that. Are you going tonight?
I wish. It sold out really quick.
Yeah,
like within a day, and also. I got some stuff going on tomorrow that I have to get up early for and can't justify getting home at like 11:30 and then running on like 4 hours to sleep the next day. So
sounds ominous. They got Michigan Tech in the championship, right?
Yes. They have Michigan Tech and what we like to call it Bemidji State, the neckbeard fans over there. So they're very nice people. They travel very well. They're also very annoying. So
what's Michigan Tech? Are they like the lumber? Are they in the
Huskies.
UP?
Yes, they're in the UP. I think all the Michigan teams in the CCHA are all from the UP. So it's like Ferris State, Lake Superior State, and Michigan Tech. I think they're all in the UP. Maybe Ferris isn't, but I think the rest of them are in the UP.
I'm learning right now that Lake Superior State isn't in Wisconsin.
Right. No,
I thought it was in Wisconsin.
You're thinking of Superior College.
I definitely am.
You don't.
All right. What was it? Ferris State was the other one?
Yeah, the powerhouse in Division II college football.
Big Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah, I don't know if that's it. My geography of Michigan is not great.
We're finding out right now. Scrolling out. It's not in the UP. Right? If you've got the hand, what's the best? It's like right here.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Here. There we go. That's how I wanted to do it. I'm an idiot. There. That was
wherever in the glove.
That was brutal to watch. I was watching myself in the camera. I can't. That's embarrassing. That was really bad.
Not good. Not good for you there. Anyway, Bemidji State has a chance to winner of this game gets into the NCAA tournament. They're a one-bid conference, but Bemidji State is on an 11-game unbeaten streak, their longest since becoming a Division I program. and they have Eric Polkamp from Brainerd is kind of the main headliner of that team, and
no at-larges at all. You can't, if you don't win the conference, it ain't happening.
Not in this conference. It's been a pretty down year for the conference, and it lost a lot of credibility when Mankato's coach at Minnesota State left to take the Wisconsin job and took a bunch of players with him. Gutted the program there for a year. They still played pretty well, and that program still has a pretty good infrastructure, but they were down, and Bemidji State was hurt all year, so I think they're playing pretty well. I think they play a whole season healthy. There's a chance, but even still, they're out of conference record, and the whole conference's out of conference record was atrocious, to where there's a system in college hockey called the pairwise, and it is their own BCS formula. Remember back when the BCS was like a mathematical equation and everybody got essentially a QRF? Pairwise is the QRF of college hockey. It doesn't determine where you're at, but it's a good barometer and helps people kind of put the pieces together. And the NCAA tournament hockey is only 16 teams. So there's not a ton of at-large bids available. And Bemidji State's definitely not getting one. There was a few years ago where the CCHA had 3 teams in the tournament. That is not happening this year. Bemidji State has never won the Mason Cup, I believe. They've never gotten like an auto bid since joining the WCHA/CCHA. So here we go. As they say up in Bemidji, it's like the Central Collegiate Hockey Association.
I was going to ask how old it is. Is it 5 years old yet?
No, not even that. I think it's like 2021, like 2020 to 2021 was like their first year of operation. It is a very young conference because they all essentially, the WCHA had like all the Alaska teams, and they had Alabama Huntsville, and all of the Central teams decided to heck with it. We hate spending the money to have to go up to Alaska. So they dissolved it, and they kicked out Alabama Huntsville, and they essentially formed their own conference. Just with all those teams. And then the addition of St. Thomas helped beef up the conference. Augustana is going to enter the conference in the next couple years. So they're coming along and kind of building in. They're definitely, though, a weaker conference. They're not Hockey East. They're not the Big Ten. They're not the NCHC, but they're fine. And when Mankato is up and Michigan Tech and Lake Superior State and Bemidji State are up, they're a formidable college hockey conference, but basically they didn't want to pay for the travel to have to go to Alaska all the time. So there you go.
Fair.
It's a long plane ride to go all the way up there. So anyway, there you go. That as they say up in Bemidji, roll damn Beavs. That damn is DAM. And there you go.
You didn't have to justify the spelling to me. It doesn't matter.
I do, just for the sake of it being better. Just kind of a little more on the nose. It's a little more on the nose, Corey. It's a little more on the nose.
Go Beavs or something.
Roll Beavs is what they say. So there you go. All right.
Skull. Sorry.
Skull Beavs.
Skull Beavs.
At least Mankato is not in the championship. Anyway. All right. One last thing, and then we'll wrap it up for the day. So the NFL draft is it's a little over a month away. Day one of the draft is April 25th. We're like 33 days roughly from that point. So a lot's going to happen still. We have now gotten past free agency, and the Vikings have picked up kind of a couple pieces on the back door of free agency, but really we kind of know what the roster looks like now, and kind of heading into the pre-draft portion. We kind of know what areas they might not draft early, what areas they are going to draft early. Right now, it looks like they are going into quarterback. That is going to be the thing, and that's going to be the talk of the Minnesota Vikings up until they actually pick one. Are they going to trade up? Who are they taking? Are they not going to trade? Are they going to trade down? There's a lot of options. We're going to go over all of them, but I think the biggest news today is that the pro day for JJ McCarthy, quarterback of the Michigan Wolverines, the national champions, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell, were not present for the pro day. All of the other teams that are looking at drafting quarterbacks were there. The Minnesota Vikings were not. The Vikings did send representation, but it was their defensive line coach. So safe to say he's not scouting the quarterback, which the Vikings do have a pre-draft workout scheduled with JJ McCarthy. So, Corey, how do we read the tea leaves of this? Is it the Vikings don't care about pro days? Is it the Vikings are trying to throw a smokescreen? Is it that, like they just had commitments. I don't know. Did KOC have his daughter's birthday party to go to or something? I don't know. What do you make out of the Vikings not sending their GM and head coach to a top quarterback's pro day?
I guess it kind of reads like they have already done a lot of research on who JJ McCarthy is, and they're not ignoring him entirely. They're going to do their own separate thing. And when you have your own separate thing, now pro days also mean like JJ's going to have his own receivers there,
right? Because he did throw at the combine.
Yes, but a private workout means the Vikings get to probably work out a plan. Like the way everything has worked out this offseason so far, very likely the conversation is, this is what we're trying to do, and this is who we're trying to work with, or, to what degree they can talk about those things with players, I don't know. Right. I don't know what's legal or isn't. But that conversation is probably generally, this is what we're going to try to do, and we're going to do everything we can to get you. How I feel about that is a different conversation that we can save for later in this or for another day. But in all likelihood, to summarize, they feel already very strongly one way or another about JJ McCarthy, and they have a private workout already scheduled. So I think that indicates probably how they feel about him. And they're going to start, hey, they're going to let him know how much they want him at that private workout. Missing this is not indicative of their interest in him.
So there's two ways that I can read this. And one way is like you're saying, it doesn't really matter. They value probably that private workout and being able to actually sit down and talk with him, do the Gruden's QB camp where they drop a play, they tell him what the play is, and then they chat with him for 15 minutes, and then they tell him to go draw the play up again and do it. And then the coaches will ask him questions on it, or they'll whatever, or JJ McCarthy will try and throw, and KOC will be whacking him with pool noodles or something like that. And like, that's what's going to happen. And maybe the Vikings just decide that going to the pro day doesn't matter because they saw him throw at the combine, but they also didn't go to the pro day of Bo Nix either. So is it just that the Vikings don't really value, or it's not that they don't value the pro day, but is it that the pro days are overrated with the quarterbacks? Because the pro day is a lot more of a comfortable environment. They're throwing with their college wide receivers. They're in their practice facility. They can kind of set things up how they want. And also, I think it was the story of the pro day where Carson Wentz at the Fargo Dome was like balling out, doing his thing. And like Hugh Jackson dumped a bunch of water on the football and he threw like a duck. And it's the point of like, what are we doing here? Like, what is it? That kind of thing of like, also Teddy Bridgewater, if you remember his pro day, he was like a top 5 draft pick, had a horrid pro day and almost fell into the second round if the Vikings didn't trade back in with the 32nd pick and go get him. So I don't know if it's just the Vikings decide that like, we're going to get our own private time and we value that so much more. That's one way to look at it. The second way to look at it is, and that they're like, we're very interested, but we're trying to go off the ball. And that kind of lends into theory number one. The second theory really is that the Vikings, they're doing their due diligence on JJ McCarthy by scheduling a private workout, but they can schedule they're scheduling private workouts with all the quarterbacks. They probably have a private workout scheduled with Caleb Williams, and he's not getting to where it's, we're going to do our due diligence on JJ McCarthy, but we are interested enough. And, what do we do here? What do we do there? Does it justify it? I think I'm not trying to read too much into this, so I'm going to go into the first theory, but I think there could be the point of maybe the Vikings actually aren't that interested and they're putting their resources into something else. I don't really believe that. It's a possibility, as we talk about with a lot of things. It's lying season right now. They're trying to throw everybody off the trail of things. But I guess this gets into a little bit with JJ McCarthy. Corey, I know that we're not draft experts, but just kind of on a gut level fan reaction, if the Vikings do select JJ McCarthy, whether it's the 4th overall pick or the 11th overall pick, like we're just judging it in the vacuum of JJ McCarthy wearing the Minnesota Vikings jersey next year. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, as long as he's not expected to start.
Sure.
Get a year, I think, to see how how it all works and get settled in. But as long as everyone's willing to be patient with him, then I'm okay. Then I'm okay with that. You can't turn over a franchise without a franchise quarterback, and it seems likely, or it seems that most people think he has the potential to turn into that. It does not guarantee that he will. Most don't. Right? It's like a 40% hit rate, as the last I heard, on these first-round quarterbacks turning into somebody who's who gets a second contract, even, let alone turns into a franchise quarterback. So, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't need to I don't know how I feel about mortgaging the future to move up and get him. I don't know, man. I'm lukewarm. It's weird because he's probably clearly better player than Penix or Nix.
Mm-hmm.
But I would probably feel better about the Vikings if they just kept their first round picks and picked somebody in a spot that they need, and then picked Penix early or Bo Nix early. And because that tempers the expectation a little bit. That guy's absolutely sitting for a year. There's going to be a lot of undue pressure on getting JJ McCarthy into the ball game because Sam Darnold is going to implode at some point.
Right. He's not, the likelihood that Sam Darnold plays all 17 games for the Vikings is very low. And that's the point of you mentioned, tempering that expectation. I think not just in the fact of that they're not expected to come in. I think even if they come in and they struggle a little bit, I think they get that credibility of well, it's not a top quarterback talent. They need some time. They need some reps. They need whatever. I think you're right. You can kind of hedge expectations a little bit. My general rule, I think, is, and I'll just say this for the point of saying something different, because I agree with a lot of what you're saying, is there is a case to be made that if Kevin O'Connell wants that guy, just go get that guy. If Kevin O'Connell says JJ McCarthy is the guy who I think can run the offense the way I want it to be run, let's go get him. Let's do whatever. I think there's a fair point in, within reason. Obviously, you're not Kevin O'Connell's not going to say, go get everything for Caleb Williams. I'm only going to work with Caleb Williams. I think realistically, there's a couple different quarterbacks that the Vikings could get that Kevin O'Connell would likely want to work with. And I think it's just avoiding that spot where you kind of wait for the draft to come to you and all of a sudden you panic and you have to take Bo Nix at 23, even though you don't really like Bo Nix, but you just need to come away with something. There's that. That's the only thing that you can worry about on draft day, which is why trading up feels like what they're going to do, because they just don't want to be, because there's the Raiders, there's the Broncos, there's potentially the Giants. There's a few, and then maybe there's always a mystery team that likes to draft a quarterback in the first round that we all didn't see coming. So what 4 guarantees you is a top quarterback, but is JJ McCarthy worth the 4th overall pick, or is Penix at the 11th pick and keeping the 23rd pick, or Bo Nix or whatever? Is that higher value? And Kwesi's an analytics guy. Is the value of that better? And probably. But if you get the quarterback of the future at 4, it doesn't matter because you have a franchise quarterback.
So I agree with everything, that with one caveat, and not being in these rooms, I don't know what people are saying. Obviously,
it's a lot of speculation. Yeah,
and but there's a difference between thinking that somebody is the guy and really wanting somebody to be the guy. Do you legitimately think that JJ McCarthy can be a guy, or do you want him you know what, if we go up early and I think, you know what, I really think I could turn, do you understand? You know what I'm, it's a semantics difference, but there's a big difference in there that I think is important. Everyone believes Caleb Williams is the guy, and it's starting to turn into Jaden Daniels is closer to Caleb Williams than he is to Drake May. People are really starting to believe that those two guys are the guys, and that Drake May can be the guy, even though there's a tier difference right now. There's a lot of people who are hopeful that JJ McCarthy could be the guy. There's no it's just less settled, I guess. So if that's the case, we also have to remember that the Vikings are going to have an unbelievable amount of cap space into the next season. that, you don't want to see him piecemeal the seasons together, which has been my entire Vikings fandom career, is just like, man, let's throw in Randall Cunningham. Yeah, here's Jeff George. Yeah, here's Jim McMahon for a year. Yeah, here's Brad Johnson. Let's bring Brad. Exactly. Like it's hard to survive that way too. But if you only want him to be the guy, I think you need to be careful about drafting him early and moving up and drafting him early. If he comes to you at 11, sure. But mortgaging your future for a guy you hope could be the guy, and that's different than mortgaging your future to go get Caleb Williams because he is the future. There's a difference.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's the thing, is how do you feel about that? And how do you feel about this? There's a lot, and there's a lot of meat left on this bone that we can talk about with quarterbacks, and we will for sure talk about it all the way up until the draft, because as we talked about earlier in the week, the Vikings probably want it. If they're going to trade up, they probably want to trade up sooner rather than later, so it's done. But if you're those other teams, if you're the Patriots at 3 or the Cardinals at 4, Cardinals yesterday said we're open for business at 4, which leads me to believe, one, is he's just telling everybody like, hey, we're open to trading the pick, or 2, the Vikings have a deal with them, like kind of like ready to go, but the Vikings are waiting to see if they can trade up at 3 with the Patriots. You know what I mean? And the Cardinals are trying to pressure the Vikings like, hey, so like we can trade it to anybody if you want. So you better come in and get it now, kind of a deal. So it's very fascinating. It's also lying season. We're getting lied to all the time. So who knows what happens, but it's going to be a very, very fun process over the next month. And surely we won't divulge into chaos until we divulge into chaos.
And JJ McCarthy will be my favorite Vikings player ever the second they pick him.
Whoever we draft is the greatest player on the board, and everybody else had concerns. And, darn it, they know what they're doing. I can see myself liking this guy up until the time he throws an interception and the other guy throws a touchdown, in which case we got the fire Kwesi ready to go. So,
I can talk myself into anybody real quick.
That's what they call the purple Kool-Aid. It's been the Morning Sports Desk for Friday, March 22nd.